Welcome to our practice. This is for when you've been on your feet all day long practice. We're going to ease the legs out, the knees, the ankles, the feet, the calves, just eradicating that tension so that we can feel grounded and connected again, rather than just blocked and exhausted. And in that way, gathering energy from the earth, being part of things again, not isolated in stress. So we're going to start on our backs with a blanket in Supta Pavanamuktasana. We want to have our blankets ready with a neat edge facing us. And now let's come and lie down on our backs on the mat. Now with our hands holding the sides of the mat and feeling, do the arms feel equal? And if they don't, it's because we're not really in the middle of the mat. So tuning into the intelligence of our back bodies to help us feel that we're really in the middle of the mat. And now with an exhale, connect with the entire spine. Notice if parts of the spine are lifting off the mat, or if parts of the spine are pressing down more than others. See if there's a way that you could equalize the sensation of the spine. From the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. Now taking the blanket and placing it behind the knees, right behind the knees, and then bending and interlocking the fingers. Supta Pavanamuktasana. Soft, smooth inhalations and exhalations. Let the shoulders relax. Let the jaws relax. Let the eyeballs relax. And with each exhale, see if the legs can come into that gravitational descent. Soft, smooth inhalations and exhalations. Gently bringing the knees away from the trunk, keeping the blanket behind the right knee, and placing the left foot on the floor, interlocking the fingers here, Ardha, bringing that right knee towards us, and to the right. Slowly with each exhale, deepening that. Seeing if we can bring the thigh closer and closer to the right waist. Keep relaxing the front throat. And then moving the leg back up. Blanket comes behind the left knee now. Bending that knee, placing the right foot on the floor, interlocking the fingers, Supta Padanguthasana on the left hand side. Soft, smooth inhalations and exhalations. Free of strain. Going with the energy of releasing. The abdomen is receding towards the lower back. The legs slowly descending with gravity to the outside edge of that left waist. And then bringing the leg back up, removing the blanket, and doing a Supta Padanguthasana without the blanket, lining the inner knees up, lining the inner feet up, interlocking the fingers, soft, smooth inhalations and exhalations. Observing the body, scanning the body, feeling the connection of the inner feet, feeling the back hips on the mat, noticing if there's any tension in the shoulders or in the cheeks or in the forehead. And what about the abdomen? Could we release it more? Could it melt more towards the lower back, towards the earth? And then releasing, feet to the floor. And now let's roll over and come to Vajrasana. So we need 2 blankets, and let's open up the dorsal foot a little bit, the ankle, get some positive, healthy circulation going through those areas. So 1 blanket, we unfold it. And this is what we're going to be kneeling on, just bringing some comfort into our lives. And then the 2nd blanket, we're going to make a roll, about like that. Now if you find that that's too thick, you can always undo the blanket and make a thinner roll this way. So judging for what's right for your feet. So a little roll, and placing this roll right at the end of the blanket. Okay, coming to sit in Vajrasana. So you can see that the rolled blanket is right underneath the front ankle, the top part of the dorsal foot, and we are sitting back on our heels. And now, with your hands, try to move your heels closer together. And then re-sit down, trying to keep the heels together. See how that's different. Place the dorsal hands on the front thighs and move the outer arms right here back, which automatically just brings brightness and rejuvenation to this whole center. Soft, smooth inhalations. Soft, smooth exhalations. Keep allowing the buttocks to press down into the heels. Keep trying to keep the heels together. Feel the fronts of those feet opening. And observe stability or instability. Is there a tendency to wobble from one shin to the other, from one knee to the other? How could you better disperse an even connection through both of the feet and both of the shins and both of the front knees? Soft, smooth inhalations. Soft, smooth exhalations. And then bringing the fingertips to the floor. Okay, we're going to take a 3rd blanket now. And we're putting this blanket with the neat edge behind the knees, replicating the work we did in Supta Padanguthasana. So make sure that it really is right behind the knees. And pulling the sit bones back and out to the side, re-sit down. And observe the difference. You feel how the pressure has changed. Feel the calves being pressed into. Outer arms back, just to make sure that as we're connecting to these new sensations in the feet and the calves, we're always keeping the length of the front spine, the sternum chest brightening and lifting. Soft, smooth inhalations. Soft, smooth exhalations. Press down. Let the buttocks, let the hips press down. Lightly press the dorsal hand downwards, so that the thigh muscles are also being encouraged to press downwards. Feeling the pressure in the calves. Breathing into those. How does the left calf feel compared to the right? How would you disperse breath evenly to the calves so that they both had a more similar, symmetrical feeling, so to speak? And then we're going to come up and move the blanket and move this rolled blanket to the side. Now we're going to come and open the joints of our toes. So Vajrasana with the toes turned under. And then let's take that blanket we had behind the knees and put it right back in place. And now let's sit back on those heels and stretch those toes out. Let's bring the hands behind us now. Interlock the fingers together. Press the tips of the thumbs together. Roll the outer arms back and wrap the arm muscles around the bones so that the arms are strong. They're not just tugging and stretching, there's a contraction. Feel your hips, your buttocks pressing down into the heels. Travel into the foot. Travel into each of the toes. And now we're going to change the interlock of the fingers behind our back. So changing the interlock. Tips of the thumbs touching. Roll the outer arms back. And wrap the muscles of the arms around the bones so that there's stretch and contraction. And then coming back to the feet, back to the toes. Just a few more breaths. I know it can be really painful. See if you can connect now with the spaces between the toes. And observe your tendency. Are you leaning in on the feet or are you leaning more on the little toes? How could you find a place of balance? The middle zone. Keep spreading. Space between the toes. And then releasing the arms and releasing those feet. There we go, just pad them out a little bit. Okay, we've got one more painful foot one coming up. And then our feet are going to feel loved. We need our roll again. And I'm going to turn this way so that you can see what the feet are doing. And then I'll come back into the position. So similar to Vajrasana, we start like this. And then we separate the feet apart a bit and we turn the feet in so that one foot is over the arch of the other. So that's one side. And then when we change sides, we do this. So for those of us who have tight arches in our feet, we are definitely going to feel this. And if you don't have tight arches, lucky you, but still amazing to just get in there at the end of the day. All right, so in position, coming to a Vajrasana with our feet spread, our knees spread a little bit. And now let's turn the toes in towards each other and move the legs in and place the left foot, the dorsal left foot over the sole of the right foot and coming to sit down. Feeling that, placing the hands, outer arms back, elbows back. Allowing with your next exhalation the entire weight of your hips and buttocks to press into the feet. Invite this opening, invite this pressure rather than resisting it. Soft, smooth inhalations and exhalations. And then fingertips to the mat, coming back up. Let's change the feet. So the dorsal right foot on the sole of the left foot, the toes turning in towards each other, and sitting down. Placing the hands in their position, the outer arms back, feeling the mirror of the sternum plate lift. The face becoming more and more quiet. All of the senses of perception that are here, eyes, ears, mouth, nose, they're receding inwards. So you're beginning to really notice through the senses the inner experience. Soft, smooth inhalations. Soft, smooth exhalations. Pressing down into the arch of that foot. And then fingertips to the mat and coming out. Okay, coming to Ardha Supta Padanguthasana. So you may need a bolster, or you could just be on your elbows if you can't get all the way down. And we're going to use a blanket behind the bent knee. So coming to the front of our blankets here, sitting down. The left foot, left leg is going to be bent, and the right leg is going to be in Vajrasana. This is Vajrasana. We have to pull the calf back and out and pull the foot in. But we're going to take a blanket, place it there. So it looks a little bit messy. Let me move this so you can see. There we go. Calf back and out. Take it. And of course I moved my blanket so you could see, but your blanket is going to be like this. And then just pull the outer foot in and press down into the outside edge of the foot. So here we are, ready to begin our descent. Coming to the elbows first. And taking a few breaths here, feeling the new sensations in the feet, in the front thighs, in the knees. Trying to allow for the breath to be easy, to be strain-free. For your noticing to be everywhere at the same time. And if you think you can come down further, then let's come down to the mat or to a bolster if you had one. Soft, smooth inhalations and exhalations. If you're on the ground, you have your hands free because you're not on your elbows. So place a hand on the front thigh and try to press the front thigh down to densify the front thigh. And now with your other hand, your left hand, move it to the back of the left buttock and move the left buttock towards the front of the mat. And the right buttock will follow it, of course. So we're tilting the pelvis to make sure that our lower back isn't overarching. Continue with the smooth and even breaths. And now bring the arms up, bending the elbows and lifting the arms above the head. And we can really feel the thigh lengthening here. So much gets held up in the front thigh. A really Vajrasana area of the body. So soothing, calming breath, lengthening that thigh, calming it down. And then bringing the arms back up. And we're going to make our way out, stopping here. And then coming up and press into the hands to lift the buttocks and to move them back and sit down. Okay, Now coming forward, hands onto the mat, and just straighten the leg. That's it, ease the knee out. And now we can change sides. Alright, so our right leg is bent and our left leg is doing the Vajrasana work. The neat edge of the blanket coming behind the calf, right behind the knee. Pull the calf back and out and bring that leg into Vajrasana and pull the foot in and press the outer edge of that foot down towards the mat. And now let's begin our descent. Supta Padanguthasana. First up on the elbows, taking a few breaths, feeling the front of the feet open more, the thighs, and then if we can, taking it down further, observing through the breath the new sensations, stabilizing them with the breath. And now placing the left hand, if it's free, on the front of that left thigh and pressing down, encouraging the curve of the quadricep to flatten, to iron to the thigh bone, and for the thigh bone to be dense, to be moving towards the earth. And then with the other hand, the right hand, just lifting the buttock up a little bit, placing the hand there, and manually moving the buttocks towards the front of the mat, coming back down to keep our lower back from overarching. And now bringing the arms up, crossing the arms, and bringing them above the head. Feeling how this adds an experience of length, and going with that, lengthening in both directions, to the front of the mat, to the back of the mat. The front thigh still densifying downwards as the elbow tips are being pulled back. And then bringing the arms back up and preparing to make our way up, but holding it here halfway, taking a breath. And then coming up, pressing into the hands and moving the buttocks back, hands forward, and extend that left leg. And coming out. Alright, and Uttanasana, just to really extend both of the legs. So we'll move our blankets to the side, and in extending both of the legs we're going to really integrate the openings that we got in our Vajrasana. So widen the feet apart, the width of the mat, and adjust your feet so they're completely parallel, and place your fingers on the arch of the feet and just gently lift up. But don't overlift so that then you're pushing too much into the outside edge. You're lifting the arch so it's not flattening, but you're still pressing into the four wheels of each foot. The fingertips are on the floor. If you can't reach, you take a block, or you can even have a chair. The important thing is to have those feet stabilized, parallel, to use the eyes to see them from the outside, and to use our senses to feel them from the inside, pressing down the heel firm. Even pressure between the feet. And now move your hands or your blocks or your chair a little bit forward and move the weight of the hips, the buttocks right here, a little bit forward. Because we all have this tendency to diagonalize like this. And I want as much as possible our legs to be perpendicular, and the heads of the femur bones are coming directly into the hip sockets. And now look at the knees and use the quadricep muscles to pull the kneecaps up, and you can see the action of the kneecap pulling up. And now use the middle quadricep muscle to pull the lower quadricep muscle up. And now use the top quadricep muscle to pull the lower and the middle quadricep muscle up. And now we feel the root of the thigh even more sharply, more sensation, but keep pressing the four wheels of each foot down as you keep lifting this. So pressing down and pulling up, pressing down and pulling up, keeping those actions as we breathe, as we observe. And now coming to an Ardha Mukha Svanasana, bending the knees, spreading the palms, spreading the fingers widely, not close but really wide, keeping the knees bent and stepping the feet back. Lifting our heels up, so we're back to the roots of our toes there, which have been opened already, finding those sensations again, finding the spaces between the toes, noticing are we caving in on the big toe and the heels coming in close? Or are we doing the opposite, coming onto the little toe? How can we be more even in the pressure of our feet on our toes? The heels lifted, the knees purposefully bent, which enables us to better feel the femur bones coming into the hip sockets, both of them. So at first we always have more sensitivity in one side than the other. So give both of them attention, one after the other, and then see if you can feel them both simultaneously coming into their respective hip sockets. And keeping those connections, straighten the legs, keeping the heels lifted, the pressure on the balls of the feet and the toes even, the femur bones coming into the hip sockets. The muscles of the legs are gripping, so contraction of the quadricep, it's lifting up, and it's also pushing back to the thigh bone. Feel how vibrant the knees are. They're straight, they're strong. Squeeze the inner knee to the outer knee to the inner knee, the front knee to the back knee to the front knee. That's it. And 2. And 1. Bending the knees again. Keep the heels lifted. Re-spread the toes. Femur bones into the hip sockets. And then bending the knees to the ground. Alright, we're going to take our blankets again. I'm going to use 1. You are welcome to use 2 or 3, whatever you want. This is the support for the back hips as we come into Yoga Mudra Mukha 3 to release the sacroiliac, the lower back, which often gets tight when our legs are tired. So we're coming onto our hands and knees. We're lifting the left knee up and crossing the left knee behind the right, widening the feet apart. And then we're sitting back, and this is where our blanket comes in handy. And the important thing is to have the knees close together. So if your knees are really far apart because there's tightness, just take some more height. And then looking at the feet, even them out from the left to the right. There's always one that's closer to make it easier, and that's the one that you've got to work on. All right, we are coming forward. So inhale, lift the front ribs up, keeping them lifted, exhaling forward, fingertips to the mat. And slowly entering as deeply as we can into the pose, keeping the arms stretched. Don't let the elbows bend. Stretch the arms, have vibrancy in the arms. You're actually pushing the fingertips down and pushing yourself back even though you're coming forward. So there's 2 actions, otherwise it's just a collapse. Soft, smooth inhalations and exhalations. And then walking ourselves back up, coming back onto the hands and knees, uncrossing, and now the right knee behind the left, widening the feet apart, and we're coming into the other side. Looking at the feet and adjusting that one that's too close as much as possible. Holding our front ribs, inhale. Exhaling forward, Yoga Vajrasana, Pavanamuktasana 3. Having that smoothness of breath allows us to step back and to watch everything at the same time, to be everywhere at the same time. Slowly the hands creeping forward as much as possible. And then coming back out and back onto our hands and knees, uncrossing and releasing. Okay, let's move our blankets and take a strap for Supta Padanguthasana. Really continuing our work on opening the hamstrings, the backs of the knees, those areas that just tighten right up. Okay, so we need a little loop in the strap like this. And we're going to lie down on our backs. Oops, let me lie this way. There we go. Keeping the left leg bent, lift the right leg up and put the loop on the arch of the foot, straighten the leg. And then slide your hands down the strap so the arms are straight on the floor behind you. If it hurts your shoulders, you can take one of your blankets and build up some height underneath the arms so the arms would be higher but resting on something, not just straining in midair. Now charge that right leg, meaning straighten it and wrap the muscles around the bones. Contraction, no spaghetti leg. This front thigh muscle gripping the knee upwards, the femur bone head coming into the hip socket and simultaneously moving towards the thigh bone. A whole new way of feeling the leg. Spreading the toes, spaces between all of the toes. And with each exhale, see if you can draw the leg a little bit closer. And then bringing the leg back up. And we're going to change sides. So the right leg is bent. The loop goes on the arch of the left foot, straightening the leg. Sliding the hands down, taking support for the forearms as needed for your shoulders. And then charge that leg. So a leg can look straight but not be charged. Charge it. Grip the quadricep muscles upwards so they really help the head of the femur bone come into the hip socket. And also iron them to the thigh bone. Spread all of the toes and push through the ball of the foot. Each exhale coming a little closer, keeping the integrity of the charge of the legs. And then bringing the legs back up. And now you're going to lift the right leg and put both feet through the loop on the arch of the feet. Charge both of the legs. Try to have the legs so that they feel perpendicular to the mat. So not coming forward if you're flexible, or if you're like this, see if you could bring them a little bit more so that we get that penetration of the femur bone coming into the hip socket. The quadricep muscles gripped, ironing to the thigh bone. The arms stretched, the armpits open. Spreading the toes, pushing out through the balls of the feet. Even smooth breath. Now feel the back hips on the mat and notice if one is pressing more than the other. And see how that correlates to the leg. For instance, if your right hip is pressing more, is your right leg more contracted and pressing the femur bone down more? So evening out. Listening, observing in a different way. And now bending the knees, and we can take the loop off our feet, and all of this should be feeling a lot clearer. The backs of the knees open, the toes, the ankles, the thighs, the way that they're coming into our hips and our lower back. And we're now going to rest in a light shavasana. So just rolling up, rolling one blanket. And for a nice bigger roll, of course you can always use a bolster if you have one. So this is the roll for our lower back, the back of our knees to protect our lower back. And then this is the blanket if you need one for your neck and head. The strap, we can put it over our eyes. Coming in, making sure that this blanket is only underneath the neck and head, not underneath the shoulder area. And then moving this roll so that it's right underneath the knees, and there's a definite sweet spot. And then our hands holding the mat and feeling, are we in the middle of the mat? Which means we have to connect with the intelligence of our back body. So I can feel that I could definitely move over a little bit there. There we go. When all of that is ready, just have your strap handy because you'll be putting it over your eyes. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that once the strap is on your eyes, the arms are going to extend away from the trunk. So not like this, because then the sides of the body won't feel free. And not like this, because then unconsciously there'll be strain happening in the trapezius muscles, the scalenes, the side of the neck. So really important. Diagonally away, the front shoulders rolling back. Okay, so here we go. Strap on the eyelids. Excess strap over the ears. Arms diagonally away. Palms facing up. Each front shoulder rolling back. Make sure that your buttocks are moving towards the bolster so that you feel the entire lower back, both hips, on the mat. Completely resting on the mat. The heels heavy, the toes relaxed, the face quiet. And with an exhalation, letting go into Shavasana. And now very gently, very slowly, moving the fingers, moving the toes, feeling the hands move, feeling the feet, the soles of the feet gently moving. When you feel ready to, bending the elbows and reaching for the strap with your hands, keeping the eyelids closed and just removing the strap. Hands back to the mat, taking a breath, coming out very slowly, incrementally. And finally, our eyelids are going to open. They may need to shut again, they may flutter a few times, just listening to what they need, how they feel. And the moment that the eyelids are open and the eyes are seeing out again, expand the vision. Avoid focusing on one point. Have forward vision, peripheral vision, and even backward vision out through the back of the skull. And then we're now ready to roll over to the side and exit our practice. Illuminated in new ways. For one, we're seeing everywhere, but we can feel fatigue has gone, it's being replaced by something else, and mental scatter has been released, and slow, mindful movements help us to feel calm. Namaste. I hope we practice again together soon. Take care.